Hi, Robert Chuckrow here. In this video, I'm going to demonstrate and analyze the move preparation, which is the beginning, the very first move of the Yang style Taiji form. And this move, in my view, is extremely important because it sets the tone for everything else that goes on. We start with no movement at all and go into movement, which is really the evolution of Wuji, which is the void, the precursor to yin yang. And then that evolves into yin yang. And the elements of it are going to be song, which is releasing all muscular contraction. And song is yin. It's yin because it is downward, releasing, inactive, etc. But there needs to be a yang counterpart, which is nei jin. Nei means inner. Jin is educated kind of strength, a mysterious educated kind of strength, which we can create. And that's the yang aspect. The main thing in this move is to do it using the minimum amount of bossing around of our bodies and maximizing the use of natural means. And so those are, for example, gravity. There's elasticity, which has to do with our tissues when they're stretched, when they move from neutral position to longer. They want to come back. There's a restoring force which brings them back. Or if they're compressed, a similar thing happens. They come back. Another one is potential energy. Now, potential energy describes that what happens when you have gravity and things moving relative to gravity, or being displaced relative to gravity, or having to do with elasticity. So gravitational potential energy is if I have an object and I lift it up, the object has a certain weight, so I have to use a certain amount of energy to do that. You don't see the energy now, but it's potentially available. So that's why it's called potential energy. Because if I release it, it will start falling back down. And that produces movement, and it can also do some work. The same thing with elasticity. If I stretch something, it's going to come back. So that's elastic potential energy, which means that when I let it go, there'll be movement or some sort of work done. Or the same similar statements apply to compression. And momentum is the other thing that we'll talk about. So all these things come into that move, and I'll demonstrate exactly how. First, I'll demonstrate the movement, and then I'll explain all the elements that go into it. So I start in a state of Wuji, which means that nothing. But there's the precursor to yin yang. So I'm just my normal self. Now what I do is I start to go into a state of song, releasing downward, everything inside, and that goes down into actual external movement. So I'm going down into the right leg. But at the same time, there are a number of things are happening. One is that I'm going into at the same time, going into a state of nei jin. I'm expanding my arms. My elbows are coming forward and out. My palms are rotating to face the rear as I go down. I'm releasing my right leg as I do that. But I'm also expanding upwards. So if I didn't expand upward, I'd just fall into this foot. No, I want to regulate that so yin and yang are balanced. So I go down and go into that state. At the same time, I'm turning. Why am I turning? Well, my feet, I start with my feet angled out at 45 degrees each relative to the median plane of my body that bisects left and right. And that means that my thigh joints are open in the front and closed in the back. If my feet were parallel, then those joints would be in their neutral position and there would be neither opening nor closing front or back. But now it's open in the front and compressed in the back, so it's stretched in the front. So I let this, as I go down, I'm letting the stretch in my right thigh joint relieve. And that's stored potential energy that now is going into movement energy, kinetic energy, as I go down. The left side, though, is nothing is happening to that thigh joint. So my leg turns with my body, especially because I have expanded it out. And I've also expanded the adductor muscles, which make my knee, extend my knees outward laterally. So as I go down, those things are all happening. That's yang, nei jin. And then when I step, I don't just fall on this foot, but I have to step like a cat. So I have to shift and keep shifting a little bit more as I step out to counterbalance. Otherwise, the weight of this leg will pull me and I'll fall on it. So now my foot is, now my foot is out and it's pointed straight ahead. My right foot is at 45 degrees to the starting direction, and so is my navel. But now what happens is, even though my thigh joint is neutral in terms of its angular opening or closing, it is compressed on this side, and this side, in addition to the angular stretch, is stretched laterally. So I let that stretch bring me back. When it brings me back, it tends to overshoot a little bit. And now this is much more compressed. So it's open and compressed. So I let the angular opening relieve. That turns my body. And my right foot moves with my body to now feet parallel. And now I let the inequality in the lateral direction move me to the neutral position. And that is that move. So what I'm doing, this is Wuji because I'm using natural elements rather than doing this. Stepping to the side, pulling, pushing, and doing the move that way. I strive to eliminate all of that, not only in this move, but in all of the movements in Taiji. Thank you.